Hey everyone, it's Vinny, and I am back with some best bets. Last weekend, we got a little unlucky on Saturday at Gulfstream. A couple very tough rides. Both horses didn't break well, and that was kind of it. Sunday, Donegal Forever won, but you went off at a pretty short price. He was bet pretty hard, but a win's a win. And the Chad Brown Maiden, who is probably our best overall price of the weekend, did run second at 6-1, paid over $6 to place, but played him to win, so I didn't cash. But the favorite won that race. If you used him in an exacta with the favorite, maybe you did. I didn't, but it is Rebel Week at Oaklawn. We're heading there this weekend. Let's get into it. Jumping all the way to race 9, it's the grade 3 Honeybee, and I know that the number 6 West Omaha is going to be the morning line, well, the post time favorite, and also is the morning line favorite. But I was a big fan of this one last week, where she was scheduled to run at Fairgrounds. She scratched out in favor of this spot, and I honestly think this is a softer spot for her. She was impressive winning the Silver Bullet Day last month at Fairgrounds, and I'm expecting her to improve again today for Brad Cox. I don't think he would have shipped her here from Fairgrounds if she wasn't ready to go. So I think she is a must-use here. There are a couple other horses, though, that I'm going to key with her in exactas. The first horse I like here is the number 1, Alley's Beach for Tom Amos. 3-year-old debut today, and last time we saw her, she was the pace setter in the Grade 1 Alcibiades, and she ran a pretty solid race that day, holding on for third. She gets the rail today. I'm expecting her again today to be the pace setter. I think she's better than some of these. She's 10-1 on the morning line. I hoping we get every bit of that 10-1. I would not be surprised if she gets bet down around that 6-1 range. I think she's just better than a handful of these here, and I think she's a horse who definitely can hold on for a piece. The other horse that I think can that I'm going to use in exactas here is Neum Beach for Steve Asmussen. She finished third here in her 3-year-old debut to the number 2 Band of Gold, but I'm not so sure Band of Gold is going to run back to that effort. And at 2-1, she is a low odds horse that I am just completely against here today. I think Neum Beach will improve off that trip. She gets a pace to stock today with the number 1 Alley's Beach in here. And I think the change in rider from Rosario to Gaffleon is going to be a key one. Tyler's usually a bit more aggressive early than Rosario is. I'm expecting her to be able to stalk this pace and be able to hold off at least almost everyone. I do think West Omaha is going to get a great trip here and win, but she's 8-1 on the morning line. I think these exactas are going to pay well over 10-1 with West Omaha over Alley's Beach and Neum Beach for Asmussen. I do think West Omaha wins here. I'm going to key her in pretty much everything I do. Looking at race number 10 now, I am a huge fan of the number 8 Magic Tap for Steve Asmussen. 9-2 on the morning line. I believe this one will end up going off the favorite, especially since Ain't Life Grand is going to be running on Sunday now and not in this spot. I think it could be the favorite, but I do think it'll probably be around like a 3-1 favoritism, which is fine with me. If he runs back to that 4-year-old debut, he is the horse to beat here. It is a little bit shorter, going from 1 1/8 to 1 1/16, but I think if this horse improves, he is just much the best here, which is why he is my top pick. The horse in here, though, who I'm going to use with him, is a horse who actually is coming out of the same allowance race, and that is the number 3 Speed Bias. 1 1/8 was just too far, shortening back up today to 1 1/16. He's 6-1 on the morning line. I think we probably get every bit of that 6-1 because I think a lot of people will see that last race and just kind of toss him. 1 1/16, this horse can definitely hold on for a piece. I'm going to hope that he can. I'm going to play Magic Tap here to win no matter what, but I will key Speed Bias underneath him in exactas. I think this exacta will be paying at least 10-1, which will be great. Looking at Sunday's card, race number 9 is an allowance race going 1 mile, and I like the number 4 Silver Prospector a lot in this spot. He's a 7-year-old, and he doesn't always win, but he just runs honest pretty much every time. Uh, he ran a very good third in the listed stakes already in his 7-year-old debut. His last 2 races at the allowance level have been more than good enough to beat this field. Uh, so I'm expecting him to run another big race in here. The other horse in here who I would use is the number 8 Ain't Life Grand, who, as I mentioned before, is scratching out of that the Oaklawn handicap to run here in this allowance spot. Not always a big fan of that move, but I do think this horse is just better than a lot of these in this field and more consistent. His last race at Oaklawn was very good. I'm hoping this exacta pays about 12-1. I do think Silver Prospector probably stays around that like 4 or 5-1 range. I would be shocked if he's the favorite in here. So I'm going to play Silver Prospector to win, but these are the 2 horses I would use on my multi-race tickets in this spot. And moving on to race number 10, I know I might already be in trouble in here because I do like both Kenny McPeak horses. My top pick in here is actually going to be the number 9 Interlock Empire, who's making his 4-year-old debut coming off a 7-month layoff. His last race, he completely missed the break, and that was it. He wants to be a little bit closer to the pace, and missing the break is not great. But his race before that in the Bathhouse Row Stakes wasn't as bad as the 5th place finish looks. The race was won by Red Route 1, who, in my opinion, would be a heavy favorite if he was in this field. He found his best stride late. I think he's going to be able to sit a couple lengths back and get a good run at this field. This field, in my opinion, is not super impressive. The other horse in here who I am going to use is the number 2, 10 Days Later, who is 7 for 12 in the money. His last race at Oaklawn 2 back is really good and definitely good enough to beat this field. I'm hoping that this exacta is going to pay the 2 McPeak horses. I don't have morning lines yet, but hard to believe that either of these horses would be very low odds. I got to imagine both these horses should end up being around between like 4 or 6-1, maybe even higher. Depending on odds and what the exacta probables look like, the number 10 Next Revolt would be the next horse I would throw into my exacta mix. Just a horse that he seems to run huge every other race, and his last race wasn't great. So I'm expecting him to run a big race here for Diodoro, kind of how some Diodoro horses work. They just, one race they don't show up, the next race they do. And if he runs one of his past big races, he definitely fits into this mix. Again, I'm hoping that these exactas are probably paying around 15-1. If they are, I'll play them. Otherwise, I'm just going to stick with a win bet on the number 9 Interlock Empire. Depending on the odds of 10 Days Later, I might end up playing him to win as well. I'm going to use both of those horses in a double from the race before with Silver Prospector and potentially 8 Life Grand, depending on what those doubles are paying. But I do hope that the exacta here is paying nice and we can hit it. This is kind of the field is kind of a large field. Usually these exacta prices do pay out well, but again, 2 Kenny McPeak horses running 1-2, not something that happens too often, but just so happens I landed on both of them. So best of luck if you are playing Oaklawn this weekend, and I will see you next time.